Hey there guys, Mike here, Mike's DVDs and Blu-rays collection is back with another episode featuring DVDs and Blu-rays and Laserdiscs and books and everything under the sun. Today guys, pretty interesting episode. I wanted to focus on two different actors. They couldn't be any more opposite of each other, but both legends in their own right. I mean, bona fide legends. Recently, I came across some movies, as I do, and sometimes I go down a small rabbit hole. You know, like let's say, discover an actor. Let's just use Tom Hanks for an example. So it's like, okay, I end up just getting like 3 or 4 movies from that he's starred in or something, and I watch them, and then I'll make a video or something. So sometimes that happens where I kind of go down a rabbit hole with maybe a director or a genre or something, which, you know, no problem, but I kind of just fully take in the director's work and, you know, like some of the more auteur directors and stuff. But this time I wanted to focus on some actors, and it just so happened that I was listening to a podcast, one of my more favorite podcasts nowadays. It's the Video Archives podcast, and it has Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery. They both used to work together at a video store before Quentin Tarantino got discovered, and Roger Avery's a budding writer. He's a writer. He's wrote a lot of scripts. He's directed a bunch of movies, such as like Killing Zoe and stuff like that. But they host this show because they used to work at Video Archives, and when it's closed down, Quentin Tarantino bought all the tapes. This was pre-DVD, so it was all VHS, maybe some Laserdiscs or something, and he's kept them. And what they do is they have a show, an episode. I don't know if it's monthly or bi-monthly, but they usually feature, you know, like two or three movies, and of course Quentin Tarantino's got 35mm prints, and he's got all the tasty stuff that we all drool over. And they'll talk about those and stuff. And what they'll do is they usually just watch the actual VHS tape that they rented back in the day, and they'll talk a little bit about the company and the video company and artwork, and it's kind of fascinating for cinema nerds. But anyways, they were talking about George C. Scott one day, a couple of movies that he made in the early 70s, and I had never heard of them. And one of them they gave like a really glowing review of, and it was actually a movie that he directed. I don't know if he directed any more movies after that, but he directed it, which had me curious. So the first one or at least I discovered this one first on there, is a movie called Rage. Now this is a Warner Archive Collection burned on disc and stuff. It's not available any other way other than VHS or something. But yeah, he directed this. This is a really good little movie. It's about 100 minutes long. It was made in 71. Stars Richard Basehart. Music by Lalo Schifrin. But pretty good. It's about a George C. Scott plays a dad. They have a pretty small to mid-sized ranch. They're out in like Wyoming or somewhere. It's very, very barren land, just nothing for miles. They decide, they got sheep. They're sheep farmers basically, and they're going to camp out. They go way out on their property one day, and they camp out overnight. So, you know, it's them two and the dog, and they go out there. So, you know, the scene cuts, you know, everything's The next morning, it shows George C. Scott, you know, sleeping in a tent. You know, his feet are hanging out. It's a small tent. And the son looked like he slept under the stars or something that night with the dog and everything. But he gets up and he's kind of normal, like, just waking up, and he starts noticing some of the sheep. The sheep are like, all the ones are just in his area are laying there with like blood coming out of their nose, and they're obviously either dead or they're dying at that point. And he kind of goes over to his son and tries to wake him up, and he's got, you know, blood coming out of his nose. He's disoriented. He can't make any sentences or like look at him and recognize him and say anything. He was just like making painful noises and stuff. So he immediately picks him up, and they must have walked for a good little bit, you know. I would say something like 2-3, I'd say blocks or something, you know, maybe quarter of a mile or 1/10 of a mile or something like that. Yeah, probably like 1/10 of a mile. And he's running with him, he's carrying him. I mean, this is George C. Scott in 71. He's carrying this like 14-year-old boy that's at least 120 pounds or something. He's running, and he puts him in his old Chevy pickup and rushes him to the hospital, and they had to drive because it's kind of remote. And they get him in there, and doctors are like, oh. And it's got a great early role with Martin Sheen in it. He plays one of the doctors with military connections, or he is a military doctor working there at this little hospital. So instead of being, so try to explain everything scene by scene. Anyways, they start testing the boy. They realize that the night before they had been doing, see, there's a military base really close to where they were. It's like there's like a small river or something that kind of divides where the military base is and where his land is. So they were doing some experiments with some like nerve gas, like sprays and stuff, and the helicopter would spray only a certain amount in a certain area, but apparently the pump on the helicopter apparently like wouldn't close, so it kept spraying for another like 5 miles or something. So that's when they got sprayed with this stuff called MX3 or something. And so now they realize it's like, oh, this could have happened, I think. But they don't want to tell nobody. They don't want the public to get scared. They don't want anything to happen. There's, you know, a classic military cover-up. And so then they have, you know, George C. Scott's in the hospital, and they want him to run tests on, and they bullshit him to keep him there. They bullshit him when his son dies, and he's been dead like 3 days, and they're basically knowing that he's slowly dying. He didn't get as much as his son got. So they're trying to keep him there. They're making up all kinds of stuff. There's an actual family doctor that he's good friends with, George C. Scott, that he's been friends with for 40 years. He's an old friend. And in the beginning, you think, is the family friend doctor in with the military? They have like a weird handshake, which never really gets explained. And I think Quentin Tarantino and Roger Avery even bring that up. It's like I thought maybe it was some kind of secret Masonic shake, or it was some weird thing. It may have just been something to kind of throw people off a little bit. But anyways, you know, the doctor is trying to cooperate with the military doctors and everything, but he gets to a point where he does not believe this. This is crap, and he tries to do what he can to stop him. So anyways, it gets to the point, he finds out his son's died. He knows he's lied to. He sneaks out of the hospital. So there's a manhunt for him. And so he knows he's dying. So what he does is he buys a bunch of dynamite and a bunch of explosive materials. You know, you got wire and wicks and everything. He's got this. He rents this little rental van and has all this stuff in it. And the people that rented it to him didn't think otherwise, because he has a farm and sometimes they have to do dynamiting. Hey, you know. And so he sets it all up like covertly. There's one. He wants to blow up this lab, the research lab. So he's like, he does the classic walk around. He's planting the dynamite. He's running the wire. He's jumping over a hill. He's getting ready to do it. He's got it on a timer. and everything goes off. You know, everything, it blows the place up. But once the military gets there, and they're like, well, it's a good thing we moved the MX3 out of this facility. So it was like, oh, all that was for naught, you know? So at that point, George C. Scott has nothing to lose. He's got his rifle, he's got some guns, he's got some more dynamite that he's ready to just throw out of his pocket. And so he goes, he kidnaps a guy in a dump truck, and they bust through the military gate, and he gets in there. And he basically, at that point, it's his last stand. You know, he weakens and stuff. And I won't go into that, but a lot of times I don't explain the movies. I don't really tell you what they're about. But anyways, it's really interesting. I mean, it was very exciting, a movie. I mean, you kind of knew based on the title that, you know, George C. Scott's going to get mad at some point. But very good. I do recommend this. I'll watch it again. It's definitely a rewatch movie. And next up, now this other one, this was also featured on Video Archive at some point, and I'll listen to it. But this is a movie also on Warner Archive, The Last Run. And on the cover there it says, in the tradition of Hemingway and Bogart. But this was kind of around the same time. This was 71. I think the other one was 72. This time we got music by Jerry Goldsmith. We got a screenplay by Alan Sharp. We got Tony Masante from was it Caballeros? Trish Van Devere, which she was the real life wife of George C. Scott at that time. And it's directed by Richard Fleischer, who's a very unsung, underrated director. But it's really good. George C. Scott, it's like a gritty crime drama. He's a former getaway driver who has retired to a peaceful life in the southern Portugal fishing village. He's asked to pull off one last gig. He must drive a young killer and his girlfriend across the border to France. And what follows is a lean, full of attitude thriller where no one can be trusted, fueled by Scott's hard-as-nails performance and striking cinematography by Sven Nifsky. I always miss his last name, but famous for working with Ingmar Bergman. But yeah, really good. Tony Masante's really good in this. George C. Scott's really good in this, and highly rated. I highly recommend this. This is really cool. He's almost doing Bronson in a weird way at that time period. It's kind of reminds me of something like some of Bronson's early 70s work, early stuff. So really cool, and he pulled it off, and it's another solid watch, and it's another rewatchable too. Next up, this was a movie that I had never heard of, and I love movies based on movies, like Hollywood telling the story of, say, in the 1930s movie industry. And there's a bunch of them. And the 70s was just a watershed decade for Hollywood, having a revival of 1920s stars and movies in the 30s and stuff. And there was a lot of movies made about making movies. And this is one that slipped by. This has George C. Scott. It's a movie called Movie. And it's called that because there's two movies. It's broke up into two movies. They're not full-length movies, of course, but one's a black and white boxing movie. The other one is a musical. Really cool. It's got a great cast. It's got Red Buttons. It's got Eli Wallach, Harry Hamlin, Barry Bostwick, and Art Carney. This is from Scorpion Releasing, and it's pretty cool. I won't tell you a lot of it though, but if you're interested in those kind of movies, like I am. And it was directed by Stanley Donen, who did a lot of that big MGM movies in the 50s and stuff. So anyways, highly recommend that. Really cool, very interesting. And so this one, I've been trying to find this movie on Blu-ray. Twilight Time had put it out years and years ago. It's way out of print and very expensive. And I think another company put it out. So I'm not really sure on trying to find this on Blu-ray or even DVD. I would rather have Blu-ray for it. But anyways, this is one of George C. Scott's great movies too. And this was around the same time, 1971. This is from a Paddy Chayefsky script. It's directed by Arthur Hiller, co-starring the great Diana Rigg. And the movie I'm talking about is The Hospital. Now this is an MGM UA Laserdisc from, I believe, 97 or 98 is when this edition came out. So this is basically the same transfer that you'll see on the first DVD release of it when it comes out. It's basically the same transfer. But man, what can I say about this? I mean, The Hospital, it's just everything goes wrong. There's murders, there's protests, there's all kinds of stuff. George C. Scott, questioning his own life and what should he do. And he meets this woman, which kind of lights a fire under him and just kind of puts everything in perspective for him. And that's, look it up. It's a great script. Paddy Chayefsky in the 70s, he made like the Network, some stuff like that, just bona fide stuff. But yeah, The Hospital, if you've never seen this, you should totally check it out. I have to say black humor, black comedy all the way. Or not black, it has comic moments, but it's definitely a dark-edged themed movie, and everything. So yeah, there you go. The Hospital. Alright guys, so the next one I'm going to show also has a Laserdisc. And what I wanted to do, I don't know why, I guess I changed I guess I was thinking one day, and I was like, man, I'm going to get those on DVD, even though they are DVD-Rs and everything, but I'll have a copy of these films, because he's one of my favorite comedians of all time. And I'm going to have to pull the Laserdisc out and do it and stuff. So in, I believe, mid-90s, this set came out from MGM. This is a box set with 7 movies on it. This is Buster Keaton, the MGM Talkies. This basically has all his early sound movies that he made at MGM after leaving being an independent filmmaker and stuff. He joined up with MGM, I think in 2008, and made The Cameraman, which is a superior movie. Spike Marriage after that. And then he started making just a series of talkies with, I think 2 or 3 of them is with Jimmy Durante. A lot of them are just not that great. They suffer from just the staginess, the camera just kind of like it's concreted in place and it can't move, and the sound is okay, but otherwise it's just not that funny. It's seeing Buster Keaton like being demoted, within a matter of years. It's like he's trying to make these crappy films, basically, or that's how he would refer to them in interviews and everything. But he was going through a rough period. He had been just newly divorced. The wife was keeping his boys from him. They even changed their names to Talmadge. Constance Talmadge was the actress, and he was a bad alcoholic at this time. And his time at MGM was kind of short. He would come back in years later to work on scripts and stuff for people. But yeah, on here, these are some of the movies that he made. Free and Easy, which Free and Easy is very watchable. I would say that's one of the best ones on here. There's like a World War I movie called Doughboys. Hapless Millionaire he plays in The Sidewalks of New York. Parlor, Bedroom, and Bath. And Sidewalks of New York, not so great. The Passionate Plumber, not so great. And then there's another one, Speak Easily. Now that's a better one. And then finally, What No Beer, which is a prohibition comedy and stuff. So out of the 7 movies, there's like 3 that are like movies I can rewatch and enjoy. But most of them are just kind of, I don't know what they were thinking and stuff. But anyways, I got that out and looked at it, and it's a cool set. But I kind of wanted DVD, so I didn't have to always, you know, pull out the Laserdisc player and do all that. And then some of the movies like pause halfway at the end of the disc and start up again on the other side, and just, I don't know, sometimes it's messed up. So I got a few Buster Keaton films. I didn't get one for every one of these, but they're all on DVD-R. So the first one I got was Doughboys. And I do like the artwork and stuff on these releases. Are pretty cool. So yeah, there's Doughboys. It's a World War I comedy. Next up, this is probably my favorite out of those sound films. What No Beer from 1933 with Jimmy Durante. Now he can be kind of annoying in some of these movies, but he's right on track on this one. And they didn't really mesh well, because most of the time Buster Keaton kind of plays like a clueless guy, like he doesn't know what he's doing, and he'll make pratfalls and stuff. And Jimmy Durante's the mouthpiece, you know, and stuff, which is, you know, another disservice to Buster Keaton, you know, because he has a good speaking voice, you know, he's very recognizable. So yeah, What No Beer. And then there's this also a Warner Archive set that's got three of those movies on there. This one's got Parlor, Bedroom, and Bath, Speak Easily, and The Passionate Plumber. So yeah, each one of these has, you know, this artwork and stuff. So there you go. So there's 5, 6, 7. So and I got free and easy on another Warner Brothers Buster Keaton DVD set. So the only one I don't need it, but it would be The Sidewalks of New York. And then I would have all those initial MGM sound films. You know, not very exciting. I know you guys are not like falling off your seat right now in excitement, but just that's, you know, being a collector, that's what you kind of look at sometimes. So, you know, why did the idea occur to me and just start buying, you know, it's why do we collect things, you know, and stuff. So now if I want to watch Speak Easily or What No Beer, I can just put the disc in. I won't have to dig out the laser disc and stuff like that. So anyways, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this. This was just a little, I've been catching some movies by some actors and comedians and stuff. So I thought I would focus on George C. Scott and Buster Keaton, 2 totally different things and stuff, but both excellent, legendary performers. And what can I say? So I hope you liked this episode. Comment, let me know what you thought, and give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you guys next time. So take it easy, watch a good movie tonight, and I'll see you later.